And the answer to me is call the bluff of the people who claim that they
I'm calling the bluff.
Because under this program, what school choice means is schools, private schools, get to choose their students. They get public money, but they don't have to take the public. If you want to have school choice, great. Every private school.
Here's the thing. I think if people in the public had money, they would take them. Like, this is a very like leftist thing where like they view like the elite as like this thing, and they're like, oh, they're excluding everybody. It's like, no, like if everything was privatized, there would be layers, there would be tiers. But instead of that, we have a public option that undercuts the entire lower class market or the lower market or the middle market, whatever, and then just leaves an upper market. So he's already framing it incorrectly. But anyway, let's keep playing.
If you want to have school choice, great. Every private school, if you take public money, you take the public. And if you want to complain, well, it's really hard to make an adjustment when somebody comes in just the day before school starts and says, well, I want to go here too. Welcome to the challenges that public schools face every single year, right? If you want...
What's the solution for this, Rob? What's the solution? More public. So here's the thing. He's acknowledging how shitty that is. Like, oh, someone comes in the first day, he's like, oh, I need an education. Because like nowhere in the market would be, it would basically be like, oh, I guess we can't do this. Also, the whole idea that like you have to start school at this certain time is another byproduct of public schools. So like in the free market and in private market, if someone like couldn't start school, okay, well, we have another opening, like, it's a continual thing, or there's another school that opens later. There's that option, right? Nothing's perfect. Nothing's utopian. But what Rob is looking for is not utopian either. It's actually the complete opposite. So, yeah, let's just keep playing. I fucking hate that I did this on Twitter. Let's even just go back. Let's go back a little bit.
When somebody comes in just the day before school, if you want to complain, well, it's really hard to make an adjustment when somebody comes in just the day before school starts and says, well, I want to go here too. Welcome to the challenges that public schools face every single year, right? If you want public money and you want competition, well, competition is where everybody follows the same rules.
Okay. First of all, no, that's not what competition is. What? You're telling me that all these businesses, like all... You tell me all these businesses follow the rules? All these companies follow the rules? No, they make their own rules and they figure shit out. The only thing that makes the rules for them is, again, the public sector. I forget what my other point was with that. So yeah, if you want public money, and that's the thing that like this is the point where I disagree with him on, or like kind of agree with him on, I should say. Like, yes, I agree that it's stupid to like want public money and the competition. But then the solution is then take away the public money. Let the public schools be the public schools. Let the private schools be the private schools. But no, this doesn't fit with the leftist democratic framework. And let's keep watching the clip because he goes even further down this train.
If you want public money and you want competition, well, competition is where everybody follows the same rules. So private schools, if they're going to take public money, should have to have an audit. We should be able to see where public money goes. They should have to have open meetings. They should have to have open records, right? If they want to have a different curriculum because it's a private school and that's kind of the point, I can appreciate that. I can understand that. But they should have to take the public and they should have to follow the same spending rules and professional obligation rules as public schools.
Okay, so this is what I found. Let's actually just finish the clip.
Right now in the state of Iowa, you can do literally anything on God's green earth as a private school with public money other than pay a rebate. I have rung people up as state auditor and as a prosecutor for doing things in public schools that are now legal for private schools to do in Iowa with public money. That makes no sense.
And look, here's the thing. I guess watching this again, he doesn't specifically say that we should just do this to private schools. But the language that he is using where he says that these private schools should be subject to all these things that public schools are if they get public money. And again, he's not saying that they just shouldn't get the public money. He's almost saying that we should continue to give them the public money, and then we should also make them essentially public schools. This is a very scary, very draconian messaging where he talks about willy-nilly, just talks about this idea of like stepping your hand, grabbing in, and just controlling the entire state of education of Iowa. First of all, I mean, like we said before, his whole framing of competition is skewed. His whole framing of the idea that schools pick their students is skewed. But he has to set it up that way, in this dishonest way. And look, the guy follows me on Twitter. I follow him on Twitter. I'm not the only person that's criticized him for this. So there's no way at this point that he doesn't know that this is just false. That he's not just selling a pitch point, a leftist Democratic pitch point, knowing that it's inaccurate. There's no way. Unless he literally is just not that competent, which then he shouldn't be governor. But look, I think he did a lot, like Rob did a lot of great things with like the state auditing stuff and targeting corruption, all these things, which I applaud him for. I 100% applaud him for that. But what he is proposing now is he's proposing a system that is just going to lead to more corruption. Look, like he pointed to like he rung people up in public office for doing this in public schools. Fine. You think that problem is going to go away if you increase the public? You think that like that's going to happen less? Look, and like I said, like I've said a million times, if you want to make the argument, take the public money away from the private school, I totally agree. But he's not making the argument. That would be such a simple argument to make. Let's just not give him money. Okay. But no, that would not further his agenda. That would not further his public school agenda. His agenda of we need to have all education unified. We need to have everybody at the same standard. This idea that if everybody's at the same playing field, that's competition, that just makes no sense. That makes, like, it's the leftist idea of like, oh, hey, you have a race and everybody has to start at the starting line. Life doesn't work that way. There are people who start ahead, there are people who start behind, and we all compete. But that's what makes this country better than other countries in that. That's why we have innovation. That's why our lives are so much easier. It is not because the government sets a starting line and makes everybody start from that point. It's because people have advantages, people have disadvantages, and people use all those things to make things better for everybody, to make everybody's lives easier. This is a leftist idea. This is a dangerous leftist idea. And personally, it made me really look at Rob Sand in a really negative light after this.